Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for our City of St. Paul webinar, Beyond Benchmarking Resources for Energy Efficiency Improvements. We're really glad to have you all here today. All right, so to quickly introduce our team of presenters here, I am Matthew Douglas May. I'm a program coordinator with the City of St. Paul on our benchmarking program. We have Sarah Terrell with us here today, a key account manager for Xcel Energy. We have Steve Rambeck, Director of Business Development for District Energy, and Peter Isabel, Director of Energy and Sustainability with Lifetime. I'm really excited to hear from them all today, and I'll have everyone introduce themselves when you start presenting too. So today we've got a packed agenda. So we'll start off just quickly going over Energize St. Paul's approach to energy management. Then we will dive into Inflation Reduction Act funding opportunities. Then Sarah will talk about Xcel Energy's programs and rebates for efficiency improvements. Then we'll have Steve talk about District Energy's energy efficiency program. And then Peter will wrap us up with an efficiency success case study on Lifetime. And we'll plan to have about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for questions and answers. So hope everyone came curious. Just some quick housekeeping. We would love for folks to leave questions in the chat as we go along. Don't feel like you have to hold your question until the end. So yeah, put those questions in the chat as we go, and we'll answer them in the chat, but then also verbally at the end. So we'll wait to answer questions verbally till the end, but we'd love for this to be interactive. And if you aren't already, please stay on mute until the question and answer time. And slides will be sent out after the presentation, so no need to frantically write down the phone number to the program you want to get in touch with later. Well, you'll get that in your email. All right, so we'll kick it off with St. Paul's approach to energy management. So at the city, we see the first step in energy management as benchmarking. The reason for benchmarking is that measurement leads to better management. So if you think about things in your life that are measured, what are they? It's miles per gallon in your car, calories in the food you eat, the energy consumption of the appliances you buy. All of these things have these measurements so that we can better manage our use of them. So benchmarking applies that same principle to our largest buildings here in the city of St. Paul. It enables not only an individual building tracking and comparing their energy use year over year, but also more importantly, comparing your building's energy use to peer buildings here in the city. So you can see if maybe your building's a high performer or a lower performer. And this can also kind of be the first step in identifying if you may have some significant energy efficiency improvement opportunities ahead of you. Some of the tools that our benchmarking program offers for this comparison to peer buildings is our Efficient Buildings Collaborative Map. This shows every building in the city of St. Paul that benchmarks, so you can see your building's Energy Star score compared to others, and kind of how you stack up geographically. And we also send a benchmarking report card to every building that benchmarks each year to show how your building compares to the average of buildings of similar types in the city, and to help with resources that may lead to efficiency improvements. And so step one is benchmarking, measuring energy use. Then step two is actual energy management and efficiency improvement. We know that most folks on the call here today do this in some form or another. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat. What drives how your property manages energy today? So yeah, we'll give everyone about 30 seconds to put your answer in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, whether that's budget, tenant requests, energy goals, whatever those might be. Would love to hear kind of what drives energy management in your building currently. And I didn't manage to pull together the Jeopardy soundtrack for this PowerPoint, but you can imagine it in your head. Awesome. So I'm hearing budget and environment from Christina. Trying to manage costs for tenants and keep costs low. Definitely. Thanks, Natalie. Great, we'll give folks a couple more seconds here. Cost savings, reduced environmental impact, improved indoor environment. Awesome. Environment within budget. Great. Yeah, seeing some strong themes here. So yeah, thank you so much. Keep throwing them in. I'll keep moving forward here, but yeah, I'd love to hear more of these. Great. So what is energy management? As I mentioned, most building and owners and managers already do this in one way or another, but kind of a cycle that we see is this. So the first step is making a commitment. So by showing up here today, that's a great step in making a commitment. And if you haven't already, now is a great time to commit to improving the efficiency of your building. The next step would be assessing performance and setting goals. So whatever is an achievable goal for your building and organization, whether you want to start small with the goal to save 1% on reduce your energy usage by 1% over the next year, or a more ambitious goal like reducing energy use 10 to 15% over the next 5 years. Whatever fits with your organization, setting a goal is a great start. And then the next step is creating an action plan. This could be as simple as if your property management team already has a list of improvements you're hoping to do, creating a plan for getting those done. Or if you want to start more from the beginning, starting from an energy audit or more of a baseline, explore what the options are and where to move from there. Then once you've got your action plan, the next step is to implement it. And we're hoping today that a lot of the resources we'll present can help with this part, whether it's funding, contractors, who to work with, lots of variables there. And then as you're implementing, evaluating progress is important. So a great place to start is using your benchmarking data. Is your energy use intensity going down year over year? Is your Energy Star score improving? What are the metrics you're tracking to evaluate success? And then recognizing achievements is always important, internally, celebrating you within your team, but also publicly. You heard it here first. The City of St. Paul's recognition ceremony will be November 15th this year. And this is a ceremony we do each year to recognize leaders in sustainability and energy efficiency in St. Paul's large buildings. So whether you've made big improvements or you continue to be a leader, we love to recognize you each year. And then when success is achieved, there's always the chance to reassess and forge on. So just a few examples of the energy saving potentials that are possible. Lifetime, which we'll hear from Peter in a little bit here, reduced their energy use intensity by 38% in 7 years, which is an amazing achievement. Whole Foods also reduced their energy use intensity by 21%. And the Science Museum here in the city of St. Paul recommissioned their advanced heating recovery system. The system costs $900,000 to install, but saves the museum $300,000 annually. So it reduced museums' purchase of hot water by 60% and reduced museums' carbon emissions by 30%. So pretty impressive savings and quick return on investment on that one. So these are just a few examples of what's possible. So now thinking about the path to efficiency improvements, we'd love to hear from everyone again. What are efficiency improvements you would like to make in your building or you're hoping to make? And if you're facing any barriers, what are those barriers? So again, we'll give everyone about 30 seconds to chime in. Love to hear from you. And hopefully at the end of the day, you'll have some more ideas of what's possible as well. So yeah, if you're typing in, keep typing. But I think we'll keep moving here, and yeah. So with that, we're going to launch into the rest of the presentation, which is focused on the programs and resources that are available to help with energy efficiency improvements in buildings, starting with the Inflation Reduction Act and funding opportunities coming with that. So the Inflation Reduction Act was the federal bill passed earlier this year that allocates over $360 billion to climate change mitigation actions over the next decade or so. And the two main ways that money will be channeled into to building owners and managers looking to make renewable and efficiency improvements are tax credits and rebates. So tax credits will be available starting January 1st, 2023. So those are kind of ready right out the gate. But rebates are going to take a number of months to become available. The reason for this is that the Department of Energy still needs to make rules surrounding the rebates and rebate programs. Then state energy offices who will manage the rebate program distribution in states, they need to propose programs to the DOE. Then the DOE will approve those state programs, and then they will finally be ready to be taken advantage of by folks here on the call. So a few months out on these, but the good news is that tax incentives are here now. So one of the most exciting tax incentives to come out of the IRA is the 179D tax deduction expansion. So beginning January 1st, 2023, commercial buildings can benefit from increased 179D tax deductions for efficiency improvements. This tax deduction has existed for many years, but will be expanded in many ways. So those who can benefit from the deductions are commercial building owners, engineers, architects, and design contractors of government-owned buildings, and new to starting 2023, nonprofits, tribal properties, and REITs will also be eligible. And to qualify for the deductions, newly constructed or retrofitted buildings must have equipment and system improvements that reduce energy use. These can look like interior lighting improvements, building envelope work, HVAC system improvements, or hot water systems. So some of the exciting changes coming to 179D are first that the minimum energy reduction requirement will be 25% moving forward. It used to be 50%. So this means that a lot more projects and a lot more buildings will be eligible to take advantage of the 179D deduction because 50% can be a pretty high bar to reach as far as energy reductions go. So this will make it more available. The energy reduction will also now be based on whole building analysis rather than equipment or system specific improvements. So they'll be looking at whole building energy use reduction. And then another change is that higher deductions can be claimed for meeting prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements. So this table shows below that projects that meet prevailing wage apprenticeship requirements can be eligible from a deduction of anywhere between $2.50 per square foot up to $5 per square foot. And the scale here is the minimum energy requirement of 25% energy reduction is that $2.5. And then every additional 1% of energy saved adds another 10%. And then you can see below, if your project does not meet prevailing wage requirements, the deductions are less, but still significant. So yeah, this will mean many thousands of dollars for projects that make big energy efficiency improvements. Great. So another exciting program coming down the pipeline is the Homes Rebate Program that'll specifically be available for multifamily properties. Like I mentioned, rebate programs will be run through the State Energy Office, so timing on this one is to be determined, but the rebate will be based on % of modeled energy savings. So similar to the 179D improvements, higher energy reductions achieve or get higher rebates. So anywhere from $2,000 per unit up to $8,000 per unit for affordable unit for buildings with 50% occupancy affordable. So again, hundreds of thousands of dollars in rebates potentially available for these projects. And there will also be in the homes program money available for townhome complexes, other kind of campus style multifamily units. So yeah, these rebates cannot be combined with other federal grants or rebates, but it is still unclear whether these can be combined with tax incentives such as 179D. So potentially a lot of money on the table for these improvements. And the homes program will be in effect through 2031. So almost a decade of time to take advantage of this. So yeah, just to reiterate, the things to keep an eye on for the IRA are tax incentives and rebates. Those tax incentives are coming down the pipeline fast, and potentially be great to start talking with your tax expert now. And those rebates should be coming online in the coming months, but will take a little more time. All right. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Sarah.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me to join in this Beyond Benchmarking presentation. I appreciate it. Many of you know that Xcel Energy has several rebate programs, and we've got some other helpful programs in terms of managing your energy usage. Today, we're going to focus on 4 items, and if you want more information on what else is available, we do have a program summary. I'm happy to get that to anybody that would like to see that. But today we're going to talk about lighting, LED lighting, heating, and VFDs, and mostly because we're currently offering bonus rebates on those types of energy efficient measures. And then we're also going to touch briefly on the revised energy assessment program and our multifamily building efficiency program. So we'll go ahead and get into the lighting. So LED lighting, we're currently offering rebate bonuses on just about everything. We are, as of July 1st, we opened up an offering for the linear LED, like the T8 tubes, 2 foot, 3 foot, or 4 foot. So that is a double rebate. We've got 25% bonus rebates on select fixtures, and that examples of those types of fixtures would be the LED direct linears, downlights, high bays, low bays, parking garage fixtures that are on 24/7, stairwell and troffer fixtures, as well as some of the pin-based LED lamps that replace the compact fluorescent pin-based lamps. And that has been around or is available to any equipment that was purchased with invoice dates of 4/15 through November 15th. So to qualify for the bonus rebates, items, if it's a fixture, needed to be purchased from 4/15 through November 15th of this year. And then we need all the paperwork in and submitted by December 1st. So if you need help with that, just reach out, and we've got the Business Solution Center or your account manager. Next slide, please. So you may be aware of some of the features and benefits of LED lighting. Of course, lighting can make up a significant portion of your overall energy use. So if you're still operating with incandescents or halogens or sometimes even the higher wattage compact fluorescents or fluorescent tubes, that kind of thing, where 32 watts and 28 watts and 25 watts used to seem like a great deal. Now things are running for half of that. So it helps conserve natural resources and reduce carbon emissions, reduces your operation and maintenance costs, can reduce cooling loads because they run much cooler than some other options. So, and really the light levels that come out of those types of fixtures it's incredible. So if you're looking to retrofit your fluorescent to LED, again, reach out, let us know. Next slide, please. So I mentioned heating and VFDs, and those fall into the program that has a very large umbrella, which we call HVAC-R, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration. We are currently offering 35% bonuses on heating system upgrades. And again, with invoice dates going back to 4/15 through the 15th of November. And I'll get more into what some of those types of projects might look like. And then 25% bonus on VFDs if you're doing integrated fan and replacing fans with the higher efficiency, higher fan index, and then clean water pump VFDs also. Now with the VFDs, they kind of fall in that motor family, and we are extending the offering, the bonus opportunity to August 31st of 2023. So sometimes those projects take a little longer to get completed. So, and then we would want the paperwork by December 2nd of 2023. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the heating, some boiler upgrades. Obviously, if you're buying a new boiler or a new hot water heater, whether it's tankless or has the storage, and then furnaces. If you've got the thought that you're looking to do that, and you can still get that done by November, or get it purchased at least by November 15th and then installed shortly thereafter, 35% bonus on qualifying equipment. Linkageless controls on non-condensing boilers, modular burners with a higher than 5-to-1 turn down ratio, and then the additional outdoor air reset O2 trim type controls going on that boiler equipment or heating equipment. And then VFDs, some of those benefits, just they give you added control and automated response to systems, and you're not having to manually close valves or that kind of thing. And then they can also extend the life of your motor equipment. Next slide, please. Business Energy Assessment. This program has recently taken a whole new, it's been revamped. We've always had some sort of an energy audit. We are now looking at honing in a little bit more on better fitting your business's needs in terms of coming up with energy roadmap and helping with implementation, etc. Next slide, please. So with the Business energy assessment program, we've broken it down into, we've got a suite of energy assessments. The commercial or industrial streamline assessment is the least expensive. And if you've participated in our study programs before, it's comparable to the old turnkey study, which offered an ASHRAE level 1 level study. So that one's real affordable, quick to complete. It can identify, you know, sort of the low-hanging fruit, if you will, and help with a 2-year energy roadmap focused on the near-term projects that you as the customer are trying to get taken care of. On the commercial side, we've identified Franklin Energy as the audit provider for that. On the industrial side, it's Cascade Energy. And the cost for those is about $500, and that will be billed on your Xcel Energy bill. The second one is building assessments, and that's a little more spendy. We will supplement. I think it depends on what you're ultimately looking for. So they're all customized, but you'll know ahead of time what portion Xcel will pay for. The building assessment is comparable to our old recommissioning study. And so that focused on optimizing existing equipment within the facility, sort of the low cost, no cost items, if dampers weren't shutting when they were supposed to be shutting and that kind of thing. So it's more recommissioning like, and offers a 3-year energy roadmap with all the energy related improvements, whether they be custom or prescriptive, and prioritized according to cost, effectiveness, and customer plans. The in-depth, the targeted building assessment is, think of it as a mega building assessment, I guess. It gets into greater depth and it's tailored to highly engaged customers that have an expectation of building an ongoing relationship with their study provider and the utility. So that one is more of a kind of all-in type study. And then the in-depth study is more comparable to our old engineering assistance study, where the study will assess a single large complex energy system like HVAC or lighting. So if you have an area of space that, you know, the lighting level's not right and it needs to be completely redesigned, that would be the lighting redesign study. Maybe the cooling system needs to be replaced, but you're not sure what the best solution is. Those are the types of things that will fall into that in-depth study bucket, and that is open to basically you reaching out to various engineering groups that specialize in whatever the equipment type is that you're looking to study. Next slide, please. Multifamily building efficiency through Xcel Energy is a whole building study. We'll come in, do a full, we've partnered with CenterPoint Energy. So if you happen to be an Xcel Energy electric customer and a CenterPoint gas customer, no worries. We're going to look at everything on both sides. So we've teamed with them. The program is designed to help owners and managers of multifamily buildings in Minnesota find energy efficient solutions that fit your budget and goals. And so they basically get into these various buildings and they check out what's going on in tenant spaces as well as common spaces. So part of it will be receiving a thorough report with the recommendations, and then also included is no cost installation of energy savings products like LED lamps, for example, efficient shower heads, low flow shower heads, energy efficient kitchen and bath faucet aerators, water heater blankets. It is, you know, there are opportunities to immediately start making a difference in those buildings. So, and that's throughout the common areas and resident units. And then, of course, they supply implementation support and guidance. Next slide, please. So after the studies are done, there are rebates for doing things. There's a couple different levels here. There's a 30% bonus for rebates earned on a market rate multifamily housing unit, and a 60% bonus to rebates earned on an affordable multifamily housing unit. To qualify for these, again, need to be an Xcel Energy electric customer, and then natural gas either through CenterPoint or Xcel Energy. And then the building needs to have 5 or more units with a common entrance, common areas, and in-unit kitchens. Next slide, please. So really, there's so much more that we can help with in terms of energy efficiency. Other programs, again, there's a whole program summary. You can find information on all of our programs if you want to go to the website, xcelenergy.com. Make sure you're on Minnesota for the state, because we do have programs in other states that we serve. You can contact your account manager if you don't know who that is. You can reach out to the Business Solution Center and they can help you too. The phone number is the 855-839-8862. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation. If you want to reach out to me with a question, happy to help. So that's all I have for this time. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, and if folks have questions for Sarah, feel free to put those in the chat. Awesome. Now I'll pass it over to Steve.
All right. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks for having District Energy be part of this call today. You can go to the next slide. So our program is very much custom in nature, and most of that is due to the size of our territory. So I see some familiar names on the list today. Obviously, you have to be a District Energy customer to take advantage of our program. Our footprint here is in the map, primarily the downtown area, roughly 220 buildings in that area. We do extend a little north of the capital area, a little bit south across the river, but for the most part, the downtown area is where you can take advantage of this program. We offer engineering support, funding, financing, and I would say earlier Matthew showed a nice diagram of kind of the circle of life of efficiency projects, and our team likes to get involved anywhere on that circle. So if you're considering an energy efficiency project, I would reach out early to us and get us involved, and we can let you know if that makes sense for us to be involved or not. In fact, we've gotten to a point now where we're proactively reaching out to customers that we see that aren't performing as efficiently as they maybe could be. So we're on the assessment piece, and then all the way around the circle up to funding and financing, depending on the project. It does need to include some part of the District Energy system to qualify for the funding, but that can be a number of things. And usually what we'll see is controls, control valves, motors, VFDs, and those types of things on the primary equipment pushing the water through the building. So I guess my main message, if you take nothing else away, is if you have a project, if you're in our territory, if you use our services, give us a call. We don't have deadlines on our efficiency program. We've got an online form that we use to kind of screen and just make sure that it is a project that one would qualify for our help and our time, but is on our system and is going to impact and save money for the customer that's going through that program. So a lot of times we'll evaluate a report. I know Xcel was talking about the ASHRAE reports. Engineers will come in and do studies. We'll come in once that study is complete and kind of look through that list and help quantify that savings from the District Energy side, and then look at the funding and financing components of that. My second slide and last slide. The other tool that we have, and especially is tied to City of St. Paul benchmarking, and a number of customers, I know customers on this call took advantage this year of our automatic upload of that benchmarking to Energy Star. Most buildings on our system took advantage of that this year. If you have not, reach out. We absolutely want to get you into the benchmarking. But once you're in that tool, you get 15-minute data. So you get all of your interval data. You can start to really look at trends in your buildings. I know certain customers that have multiple buildings have been able to spot different trends within their building and pick up some of that kind of soft efficiency gains that don't require funding necessarily, but just trends of setbacks on weekends, soft starts in the morning to limit peaks, all those types of things you can start to see from the information. And we're really, we want to help you get into the portal, but it's your information, and we want to have you utilize that to the best of your ability so that you can start to reduce your energy consumption at the end of the day. So we have, and there's billing history and everything else in there too. But I can't stress enough how important that portal is and could be for your organization, and really start to see some of those trends. You can find all of this on our website, districtenergy.com. We've got the energy efficiency program link. My contact information is there. And if you're not part on the portal yet, please reach out for that as well. I think that's all I've got. It's pretty simple. If you're in that area, give us a call.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. All right. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Peter.
Hey all, I'm Peter Isabel. I'm with Lifetime. Just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of this discussion. I just wanted to affirm Matthew when he put up the circle, the create an action plan, implement an action plan, evaluate progress, and recognize achievement. It's really critical to establish from an organizational standpoint, and also have patience. These things don't happen overnight. So I started working in this position in 2008. We started working with the Department of Energy in 2014. We established, signed up for the Better Buildings Challenge in 2017 and overachieved that. You saw the acknowledgement from the Department of Energy there, and but it took a while. I mean, these are like trying to move a large ship with a tiny little rudder. So be patient, and alignment really helps within the organization. We also got nominated for in Worth Magazine for the #1 sustainable company in the United States. So those good things. This has taken 13 years to try to get to these pinnacle points. So like I said, nothing happens overnight. Next slide. So I thought I'd kind of go over some of the things. None of these are like earth-shattering, super innovative, or anything like that. They're just down and dirty. You've heard it over and over. Lighting. We did a lighting project in 2016 and 17. It was the largest capital project from a retrofit standpoint that Lifetime did. So we assessed every club. 95% of our lights we retroed to LED. We even created our own UL listed and DLC approved fixtures to retrofit into our clubs. So a lot of details, and we got rebates from all of those, most of them, I guess, not all. Utilities across the United States have them. VFDs in pool pumps. We have a lot of pools. We have 900 bodies of water across the United States and Canada. So all of our pumps, they run 24/7. So we installed VFDs on all of them, and along with yearly validation. So very important to not only install something, but validate that it was done on a continual basis. Whatever routine that you establish, whether that's anything on the control side. Validation is really important, and continual validation. We have steam boilers. We have, 300 steam rooms. They all have electric steam boilers. So we have to ensure that we had proactive maintenance that's done in them. And we also put relays in between the men's and the women's steam rooms so that they wouldn't engage at the same time. It was a demand control strategy. And then actually from that project, we ended up finding out that there was a side benefit that we reduced our eucalyptus because the boilers weren't running. It was like these little sustainability stories where, you know, just by, you know, if energy is the goal, usually there's a side effect by optimizing or managing something better. HVAC is our #1 load. We have a lot of cooling, a lot of heating in our pool areas. In 2014, we worked with Lennox and we created a retrofit program to retrofit all of our packaged rooftops with variable frequency drives. And we've gone through over and over to make sure that our schedules are right, the VFDs are engaged, our airflow is optimized to not only optimize the VFD, but also the cooling capacity of each stage and also the heating capacity of each stage. We turned off a power exhaust and validating that our enthalpy sensors are set up right so that we can capitalize on free cooling. We've rolled out a kind of a platform on our controls to manage our HVAC and pool heating. We did that in 2014. We retrofitted 10 different platforms. We currently have 2. We're consolidating it again to 1. So the go forward is we'll have 1 control platform that manages 10,000 pieces of equipment across the United States and Canada. We've gone through our VAVs. So anything that has something that communicates to something else, you know, so think of the telephone game. You know, if you ever do this in your families at Christmas or something like that, the story gets changed along the way. So for us, when we have a packaged rooftop unit that communicates or provides air to a VAV, a lot of times they're not linked together. So the communication between the VAV and the packaged rooftop unit aren't working right. So we've gone through a process to validate that our VAVs, we have got to be 1,500, 2,000 VAVs in our fleet, that we're optimizing the airflow and then the reheats on those. And then the steam rooms on the bottom, that was kind of kind of talked about that earlier in our steam boilers. So next slide. The natural gas projects that we've done, most of our natural gas is from outside air into our pool areas and into our clubs. We have a lot of yoga spaces as well. So by going through all and recommissioning all of our packaged rooftop units, it's significantly helped a lot. Additionally, with behavioral processes with our clubs, by teaching our instructors that have yoga classes, that, you know, a lot of our people liked to say they didn't want to get to a space early in the morning to have to turn on the heat to warm up the class. So what they would do is they would just leave it on overnight. So we'd have a 95-degree space temp overnight in a yoga space, which is, you know, the size of a small house. But practices with behavioral, by teaching people what to do, is a big one. These are, you know, low cost, no cost, but behavioral is really hard to enable. Boilers are our second largest natural gas consumer. So we've gone through optimizing our control of those and setbacks. So most of our hot water happens during member usage. So overnight, there's just not a lot of people that are using the clubs and they're not open. So we can do a lot of setbacks now with our boilers. Dryers. We do, an average club does 70 to 80 loads of 100-pound laundry per day. So there's a lot of drying. So little things like just ensuring that the dryer times are set right and that the lint dryers are removed and then the flames are right. You know, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you do it times, you know, can't remember what the number is, like, you know, 500,000 loads of laundry a year, it kind of adds up. So little things in large quantities make big impacts over time. Hot water. We had a situation in one of our cafes and where the cafe people, in order to rinse out the smoothie makers that they make, they just let the water run in the sinks because it was easier for them to just put a blender underneath the faucet. And that was the preferred method and the acceptable method for our cafes to clean the smoothie maker blenders. So I'm super anal. So I took out my little stopwatch and I said, hey, can you, I'm going to time you and see how long it takes to fill the smoothie, this little blender thing. I think it took, 4 seconds, 64 ounces, did some math. It was $12,000 a year of water running in the sinks between water and natural gas to heat the water because of a behavioral element. So we've gone through and we're teaching all of our cafe employees about a brand standard with rinsing out not only smoothie makers, but just in cleaning processes in general. So that's kind of, a lot of this isn't controls related, isn't VFD related, it's behavioral, and it's, it's like, shutting off the lights when you leave a room at home type stuff. And the last one, let's see, reconnect control to locally controlled spaces such as yoga. So I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier with our yoga studios. So we have 500 spaces in in a studio format in the United States. So validating that those spaces aren't heated or cooled in non-occupied times are really critical. Next slide. Water for us is actually the hardest one to manage. There's just not a lot of, like Excel here in Minnesota. So this is we have 20 clubs in Minnesota. So it's easy to work with Excel to help go through a lot of validation processes to make sure that our clubs are running right and rebates and stuff. But for each one of those clubs, it's got a different water department, and most of them are cities. So data gathering and accountability is harder. But some things that we've done to work on our water are our irrigation systems. Irrigation water for us nationally is about 20 to 30% of our water usage. So we've gone meticulously and gone through processes with our vendors to make sure that we're not overwatering, underwatering for asset management's sake. And then we have installed rain sensors in all of our locations. We have tried some, BAS type irrigation systems, but haven't had a lot of success just due to the they're so technically advanced and there's a lack of understanding in the support world. We do about 1,000 showers per club per day. So this was actually one of my first projects that I did. We worked with a vendor manufacturer to create a lifetime specific shower head. So it's a low flow shower head that had a high test stainless steel aperture. So the water corrosivity and erosion over time didn't destroy the shower head. So we actually found that a typical brass shower head that you get at, say, a Home Depot or something like that, Ferguson, would erode over time due to the water. Like I mentioned earlier with the natural gas, we do a lot of loads of laundry. So we have, and we're in the past, and we're doing this again right now, is we're validating, I think we have 1,000 washers nationally, every single setting, so that every single washer does the same program per load. So they always use like 2 pickles on a burger, Somebody at McDonald's has got a throughput and he's tracking pickle distribution, and if a McDonald's goes over pickle usage by 3%, it causes a red flag type stuff. So we're going to do that with our laundry program. And then the biggest one for us, our biggest water user is our pools. Like I said, we have 900 bodies of water. So we put an autofill meter in all of our bodies of water. So we're tracking data continually, and we can review that to ensure that our water fills aren't, continually adding water due to a light niche leak, a shell leak, a gutter leak, a surge tank issue, or a float issue. So I think that's about what I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, a lot of really good examples of what can be done. All right, so yeah, now we'll open up for questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or come off mute and ask them if you'd like. And Peter, Steve, and Sarah will be available to answer questions. We also have everyone's contact info here in case you'd like to follow up after the fact. So yeah, feel free to throw questions in the chat. We'll be on until the top of the hour. So yeah, fire away.
I have a question. I'm happy to get us started here. This is a question for Peter. You had mentioned that, it took quite a lot of time. You listed a lot of projects that you've undergone and for 13 years, I think is what you said. How did you initially get buy-in from people at the top in order to get these projects moving?
So I'm just going to tell you a quick story. So I actually got hired in this position during the economic downturn of 2007-8, when the housing kind of market crashed and stuff like that. So my former boss took a chance and said, "Hey, I'll hire you, but I'll give you 6 months and a pay cut, and you're going to see, we'll see what you can do." But there was no measurement or validation on anything in energy within a lifetime. So basically, it was starting from scratch and coming up with a process. So we track all of our bills through a third-party bill consolidator, and we have to review all of the exceptions on a daily, weekly basis that go through. So basically, we track all of our information. So I can look back historically and then see in most of the Chicago market, without a disputable doubt, that the energy, consumption per square foot has been cut in half because we track it all underneath the same platform. So that can be validated by ComEd, or in this case, in Minnesota, it would be Excel, but it's a similar story. So having the data to show validation is really important.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Steve, one question I had was curious if you have like an example of a project that a building has worked with you on for the energy efficiency program.
Yeah, we've done a few where we've partnered with controls vendors to do controls upgrades, and gone from pneumatic controls to a whole new building automation system. So as you can imagine, downtown St. Paul, there are buildings kind of at every level of sophistication. And the more we can move to buildings that have at least some control, and it gets back to, are the valves holding, all of that communication process. But yeah, we've done a couple of projects with buildings specifically to upgrade their control systems to make sure that what they're programming in is actually working. And then to Peter's point, the validation of that, and another plug for our customer portal, but you can set it up and get it working, but unless you continue to track that, it can slip, and controls especially can go back on you and start not operating optimally again. So you have to be on top of that and have to keep watching to make sure that that's validated.
Can I just add something real quick? I affirm that wholeheartedly. We're going through a process right now where we're going to go back through our clubs that we've validated over and over again. We're starting with one here in Minnesota as a pilot program, and we're digging into the weeds. And this is after we've done all the projects that I mentioned. Just by digging into the weeds after all of that in some 20-year-old facilities, we're able to find another 10 to 15% that we've never found before. And then being able to take that, implement a new baseline, and then validate against that new baseline is it's like a continual monitoring process. So it's very data, a lot of data, but very, very lucrative and low cost, but it gets pretty in the weeds.
An extra 10 to 15% just hiding. That's impressive. That's great. Right. Yeah, we'll give folks a few more minutes to chime in with questions if you like. And yeah, we'll be following up in the next day or two with the slides from the presentation and resources. So fear not, the links and phone numbers and all that are coming your way.
As Matthew said, you can mark your calendars for the upcoming St. Paul benchmarking recognition, which Matthew, can you give us that date again?
Yeah, November 15th, from about 3 to 5 p.m. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you all soon.